Ba-dee. Bum 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 ba-da-da, bum 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 ba-dum bum ba-doo-doo. Do 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 ba-dum bum. Diddly-ba-ba-ba. We're about to go live. Please pay attention. We're going live. Share it. Share it all. Beep up a doo. Beep up a doo. Be dee. Ba da ba doo da dee da doo dee dee. We'll be starting real soon, guys. Don't worry. I'm right here. Live. In living color. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Ba da da. Do 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 do. We're getting ready to play RPGs. Hope you like my show. Very excited, please watch me. Don't know. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. I hope my sound syncs up with video. Oh. All right, I am live. Few quick posts. Getting my send me a tip here, or buy me something off my Amazon wish list to help with the stream, or if you're watching on Twitch, you can find me on Facebook. Clamp. All right, cool. And if you have any questions, Streamlabs, thanks for watching me stream. Do do. Ilya bada boo. All right, we're about to get started. Go back. Greg, thanks for watching, Greg. If you have anybody that's interested in tabletop RPGs or has any questions, I'll be going through quite a few different ones. We'll be making characters for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition today, though. But if anybody has any questions about anything else that I bring up, I'm more than happy to answer those questions. Ta-da! Da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da. Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. Just a few more seconds and we'll go on. Yeah. Ba-ba-doo-ba. Yeah. Go! All right, everybody, good evening. Happy Monday, and welcome to the Big Bad Nerd Dad stream. I'm very excited to get into today's topic because I've had a lot of people ask me about playing tabletop RPGs and getting started. And the truth of the matter is, it's very easy, very simple. They've become very accessible to a lot of different people. Google's your friend. There's just thousands, and when I say thousands, I mean thousands of different tabletop role-playing games that you can join into. A couple that we'll talk about today is some of my favorites, which we will be building a character for Dungeons and Dragons, the old school way. But something that I've gotten into recently is Frostgrave. Frostgrave is a tabletop RPG war game. It kind of crosses over back and forth, where everybody plays a wizard, and you actually have a wizard adventuring party. And so you get to choose thieves and thugs and archers and knights, man-at-arms, just different people to join your group. And you get an apprentice, so you get to cast spells and build your wizard exactly how you want. We'll be doing a video feature on this the months to come because Board and Brew Games in Humble, Texas is starting up a Frostgrave League and want to play in it. They play Thursday night, so I'm going to have to figure out how to get out there on a Thursday night or just go up there on the weekend when I get a weekend off somehow. They're a great group of guys. I'm looking forward to getting into it with them. So Frostgrave is a great game. Made by Joseph McCullough. And you can actually go Google Frostgrave, and they have free character sheets and get started rules that are extremely helpful. One of the RPGs that I really like right now, and it's very simple, very easy to use, is Tiny Dungeon. Tiny Dungeon uses at most 3d6. It's very geared towards role-playing. It's very rules light, which means that your entire character sheet can fit onto an index card. I know you can't see that lighting, but it basically says your first and last name, what your family background is, like what your family did as you were growing up. So you take that into account into your role playing, and then you get to choose something that you're good at, and then that attributed to your role playing. So it's very geared towards how you want to use your character instead of all the different rules and lists of feats and extra things that you can pull from other books. This is their rule book. It is very small. That's my hand. So this is a hardback, but it comes in paperback. And I'm loving Tiny Dungeon right now. It's very easy, very fun, very rules light. And I'm hoping to do more of those sessions in the future. Brandon, thanks for watching. One that I've just gotten into, but isn't new, this is not a new RPG, is Monster of the Week. It was made by Michael Sands. And this is run using the Powered by the Apocalypse, the game engine. All these different games that you see me picking up and showing you have different rules to how you play. Some are very rules light, and some of the ones that I'm going to point out to you are very rules heavy. That's why my post earlier today, my meme was, this isn't a game, this is math. And sometimes that's the way an RPG plays out. It's learning how to manipulate dice rolls and how to push the numbers into your favor. And sometimes it's just sitting down and doing a lot of talking and getting things done that way. It just depends on how you want to role play your character. And I think that that's extremely important when you're playing a role-playing game, is playing how you want to play, not exactly how other people view a character and how they should be built. You should be overpowered and super strong. Maybe you want to play somebody weak that's quick and nimble, or mentally acute, right? Monster of the Week plays into the themes of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Supernatural, that kind of episodic television. Oh, something's happening. This is what's happening on this episode. You know, they're made to be played as one shots. You play for 4 hours and then you've done an entire adventure just right there. And you're playing as these monster hunters essentially that are going out and trying to figure out, oh, why is why is everybody in the city suddenly falling asleep? There's some sort of monster that's doing this. We're under some sort of curse. So you're trying to figure it out that way. And the Powered by the Apocalypse is extremely narrative driven, where I'm not going to say there's very little dice rolling, but it's more geared towards how you're trying to accomplish things verbally through role play than I'm a master swordsman. This is how I get things done. You know, I'm just going to slay the beast in one fell swoop. You know, things can go very, very wrong very, very easily in this. In fact, with the way the dice are stacked, you will usually accomplish the task that you're trying to do, but something goes awry, and so you've got to figure out how to get around what's gone wrong, your fumble of sorts. And I'm just now reading it. There's my bookmark at the very beginning. I'm just now getting into it. I've been bouncing back and forth, looking at character creation and how to run a game and the ins and outs of it, because I don't like reading a book cover to cover. I'll bounce back and forth to get what I need, and then if I need to look something else up, I'll go into it. But I'm extremely interested in this new Powered by the Apocalypse rule set. It's new to me. It's not new. And now today, what we'll be getting into the nitty gritty of it all is the world's greatest role-playing game, Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I've shied away from Dungeons and Dragons for several years because I just played so much of it, a little tired. And that can happen with any role-playing game. Iron Kingdoms. I played Iron Kingdoms for like 3 years straight. I was playing a game once or twice a week. I was running 2 or 3 games at a time. I was doing demos at conventions because I love the game so much. And it's a fantastic setting and game itself, but I got burnt out. Took a break from it. Same thing with Dungeons and Dragons. And it's really funny because the thing that brought me back into Dungeons and Dragons was the fact that they came out with a Iron Kingdom setting in 5e. And I'll talk about that in here in just a little bit, because there's so much going on with 5e right now. I say 5e, 5th edition. Dungeons and Dragons is in its 5th edition, which means that they've had 4 prior editions of Dungeons and Dragons. Each one has their own quirks. Each one plays a little bit differently. Some people are diehard 1st edition, 2nd edition fans. They only play that. And the truth of the matter is, if that's what they like, then that's what they like. I can't say the one edition is better than the others. I prefer the newest edition, 5th edition, because they're coming out for stuff with it monthly. Things are dropping. They're giving us adventures. They're giving us new rules. They're giving us new spells and classes. And we'll go into that in just a second. But if you just want to play Dungeons and Dragons, the basics, the nitty gritty, the boiled down version of this, I highly recommend going to D&D Beyond. D&D Beyond is their app/webpage that allows you to create custom characters online. There's no way for you to fudge it up. It's very simple for you to go through. They have a very simple walkthrough. And then if you've been playing for a while, it's very intuitive to, all right, I want to build this. You can just start picking things left and right. That's what I was doing just recently. All right, I want to make a druid, and I don't want him to be a shapeshifter. I don't want a wild shape. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want these spells. All right, so pick. Very intuitive, very easy to use. And if you are looking for somewhere to play, I highly recommend Space Cadets Gaming. They're on the north side of Houston. Very friendly place. They have D&D nights. They have all different types of things going on. And then there's tons of other stores in the Houston area. Golem's Gate is a great place to play. Etten, also here on the north side, is an amazing place to play, and they're getting a brand new, larger facility, so they'll have even more room for people to play in. And they're great guys. I worked for them for a little while, and Dave and his crew are some of the friendliest around. Bad Ogre, Eighth Dimension, the list goes on and on. If you go to my Facebook page, I have a page, a post about all the different stores in Houston. And last year I went to several of them. I think it was last year or the year before. I went to several different stores and interviewed the owners and how they were doing during the pandemic and what they were doing for the community. Because each of these, every single store that I've been into in the Houston area is extremely community driven. They want people to come in, they want people to play, they want people to grow the hobby. And that's what this is about, is growing the hobby. So, like I was saying before, there's so many things coming out for Dungeons and Dragons that it can be a little bit much. It can be almost too much for you to pick things from. Like they have a horror theme book that came out recently, the Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, and Ravenloft is their scary horror themed setting. Xanthar's Guide to Everything dumped a whole bunch of new spells, some classes, a few other things that popped in. So there's a lot going on. And one of my favorite settings and books that came out for Dungeons and Dragons recently is their Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. So if you play Magic the Gathering, you can now play in Ravnica. And they have a book for Theros. They have a one-shot for Zendikar. I don't know why they haven't done Innistrad yet, but I'm willing to bet that they have something lined up for Innistrad. So they have a fantastic way. Hey, Valerie, thanks for watching. They have a fantastic starting point for people that have never played a role-playing game before to see all the different settings that are available. There's a really neat sort of post-apocalyptic fantasy setting called Eberron. And like I said, Dungeons and Dragons has been in the game for a very, very, very long time. So they have all these really unique settings to pull from and all these really unique character classes to unleash upon the world and for you to really dig your hands into and be like, this is the character that I want to play. I'm going to give a quick example of a group that I had recently taught how to play Dungeons and Dragons with some friends of mine from work, and every single one of them wanted to play a knight because I asked them, hey, we're going to play Dungeons and Dragons. What would you like to play? What kind of character do you want to be? Every single one of them, without being in the same room, individually said, I want to be a knight. I want to carry a sword, huge shield, or I want to carry a mace, and I want to be an avenger. I want to be a beacon of light, a beacon of hope. And that's what this is geared towards. That's exactly what role-playing games is for. Is for us to, I want to be this. I want to be a powerful wizard, or I want to be a cleric. I want to heal people. I want to be the support. Hey, Spellcaster Gaming, thanks for rating. And it gives us this opportunity to step up and be a real big part of the community and do something different. So if you're just getting into Dungeons and Dragons, D&D Beyond and the Player's Handbook is all you will need. You can usually find a Player's Handbook at your local gaming store. I always recommend going to your local gaming store first. You can simply Google tabletop game store local, and there's probably, if you're in Houston, like we're in Houston, Texas, there's usually one within 5 to 10 miles of you. Like, no lie. Like, they're super close. They're all over the place. We're very blessed in Houston, Texas. Same thing for if you're out in bigger cities or even not. Absolutely, RKO Stunner 619. I'm definitely gonna start doing. I've just started delving into virtual tabletops, so I'm gonna start doing virtual games here on stream where I'm going to teach people how to play 5e all together. I'll do one-on-one sessions with you to help build your characters and to help get things moving. But the truth of the matter is that very simple to find people for Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons is one of the most popular role-playing games in the country. Yeah, Etten is a great choice. Etten, Space Cadets, Fat Ogre, you know, on the north side of Houston. On the south side of Houston, you've got Golem's Gate, Gold Mine, Gerards. Like they're just all over the place. I highly recommend Golem's Gate. They're closer to Stafford, but that's, you know, the south side of Houston. So you want to build a character for Dungeons and Dragons. What you're going to want to do is very simple. You take a piece of paper. Priestmeyer, thanks for joining the stream or liking the stream. You're going to take a piece of paper and you're going to start just coming up with ideas of what you want to do, how you want to play. So, take out this character sheet. So, what I was thinking. Hey Alex, what's going on? Just teaching people how to play a little Dungeons and Dragons. Thanks for commenting. If you're getting into a role-playing game, first thing you're going to want to do is come up with an idea for what you want to play. Don't even look at the rule book. Don't even look at the rule book yet. Form a concept of what you want to do. If you've played games in the future, in the past, like World of Warcraft, Dark Souls, the other one, Skyrim. Skyrim's a fantastic one. You know, they've got a lot of skills and things that translate over into a tabletop RPG. Or if you're coming from a card game, a collectible card game like Magic the Gathering or Flesh and Blood or something to that extent, maybe there's a character that you've seen that you want to try and emulate. Thank you, Alex, for boosting me. Come up with the concept first of what you would like to do. So my buddy is starting his first 5e campaign in a long time, and he's asked me to play in it. I don't get to play very often, so when I do get to play, I like to come up with these wild characters. There was a few years ago when I played in a 5e campaign where I played as a Luchador. Oh, I want to be a Luchador, and I want to do high-flying moves, and I want to be dexterity-based, and I want to be like Rey Mysterio. Like, that's the fighting style that I wanted. I wanted it to be a Mexican wrestler. Lucha, what is it? Nacho Libre. Hey! So I came up with the idea, and I was like, all right, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to look like. This is what I want to try to accomplish as a role player. I want to be the good guy. I want to be fighting for what's right. I want to right the wrongs of the world. And so I was, you know, I took that idea and I started writing down all these concepts. I want to do this, and this. So we're going to do the same thing for my new 5e game that I'm playing in with my friend Danny Dean. So I said, all right, Danny Dean has created a world where there is that defined boundaries of different lands, and there's no wicked magic. Like, we can't be evil sorcerers for right now. We can't be evil sorcerers. We can't use necromancy. Everything is going to be either learn-based, so like you're a wizard, or you're going to be faith-based, so like clerics, druids, paladins, those sort of things are okay to be faith-based. And that's the kind of campaign that he's running. So he's given me these parameters. I have to stay inside this box. I'm like, okay, what do I want to do? I said, I want to be a druid. I haven't played a druid ever. So I said, let me try a druid. I want to try a druid. So after going through his world building rules, I was like, okay, so the druids are kind of like the clerics. They're old faith. They can be healers. They want to heal the land. That's what I want to do. I want to be a druid that heals the land and is sort of spellcasting and doing things. I'm like, ooh, this is good for the earth. I want to go forward with this moves. I want to do this. I want to do these things. So I said, all right, cool. I want to play a druid, and I've never really looked at the druid class before, aside from helping other people build druids. I've never built a druid for myself. So All right, I want to be a healer. I want to be a man of the earth, druid. So I open my player's handbook, handy dandy player's handbook. If you don't have a player's handbook, again, you can use the D&D Beyond app/website, and it'll give you all the basics of each of the classes, like super basics. But we will go to the Druid class. All right, that is Cleric. All right, so I go to the Druid class and I start looking through the rules for being a Druid. Let me switch my view real quick. You can see the battle. All right, boink. All right, so, and one of the cool things about Dungeons and Dragons being in the game for so long is that they have money. So with that money, they have beautiful rule books with awesome pictures. So it really gives you a feel of, this is what a druid looks like. This is what, and again, even though these are pictures and things that they're trying to exemplify as what a druid is, as the role player, it's your job to be like, no, this is how I want to play it. When I played my Luchador, I was using the monk class, but role playing him as a Luchador, and I would do like a Macho Man Randy Savage voice to show that I was an actual, like, let me tell you something, chump. This is my ring. I'm gonna save everybody here. And I use funny voices and things like that because I've been playing for so long, and I know that for newer people that can be a little off-putting, or it's not within their range just yet. But once you really get into playing these characters, it's very simple to become the character. Just flip the switch and have fun. That's exactly what these role-playing games are for. They're not for being yourself. They're not for being a major character of somebody. Like you're not always going to be the hero. It's a group game, so you have to. How are you working together? How is your character helping out the team? How can you move the story forward? That's the most important part of a role-playing game. Move the story forward. So I chose a druid. Boop. Page 66. So I was like, okay, let's look at the druid build out. Most classes are going to have the same build out. After a certain amount of experience, you hit the certain level. Depending on how you're storyteller, dungeon master, game master, all of those are underneath the same blanket of the person that tells the story. Gives you experience or allows you to level up. You'll get certain things as you hit different levels. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So I was like, okay, let me look and see what I get. Right off the bat, I get spellcasting. That's super cool. Druid, right off the bat, gets spellcasting, as with most spellcasters like wizards and sorcerers and things like that. I get special spells. All right, let me see what kind of spells I get. Right off the bat, you get cantrips. Cantrips are spells that you can cast over and over and over again. But for most classes, you have a finite amount of spells that you can cast per day in the game. And that's to stop you from being super overpowered, crazy, pew, 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 guns blazing sort of character. Which, as you level and progress, you get the ability to do those kinds of things. So I said, okay, I want to be a druid. I don't want to be the kind of druid that shapeshifts, because that's a big thing in Dungeons and Dragons 5e. The shape-shifting druids can turn into giant bears, or they'll turn. And I built a character for a friend of mine that once he hit level 6, he could turn into an octopus, and the octopus was getting 8 attacks per turn, and yada yada yada. Like, it was very overpowered and crazy. I did not want to do that kind of build for this campaign, because it wasn't like, this campaign isn't super over the top fantasy. It was more faith and intellect driven, right? So having a person turn into an octopus so that they could hit 8 times isn't what these characters are thinking of. They're thinking more along the lines of, we're trying to stop a cataclysm from happening. I'm a druid of the earth. how do I help the earth? How do I help my party move forward with this? So I said, okay, I don't want to play a shapeshifter. I want to play a spellcaster. Let's go with the spellcaster. So there's each class has subclasses. So the druid has 2 subclasses. There's the druid subclasses are the circle of the land and circle of the moon. Circle of the moon is the one that goes sort of full tilt shapeshifter. They can get all kinds of really cool shape-shifting forms faster, and they're the ones that can get into real nasty shape-shifting forms that the circle of the land can't get into. Now again, we're only using the player's handbook, the core rule book. Those other books that I showed you earlier, the ones like Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica or Xanthar's Guide to Everything, there's even more subclasses and things in those books. So after you've built a generic character, then you can move on with building these way over the top, super cool, super niche characters that are wild and out of these supplemental books, right? These are things for after you've gone through and seen these things. Play these classes first. Play the classes in the player's handbook first. And then you can move on to different things. Because these are going to ground you in the basics. How to spellcast, how to manage your spell slots. You can only cast so many spells per day, right? You don't want to jump into a really crazy class that might cost you more than just a regular spell slot to cast something, or be somewhere outside of your bubble of this isn't really the kind of character that I wanted to play. It sounded like what I wanted to play, but it's either too difficult or it's not at all what you wanted to play. And that's happened to me before, simply because I was like, this artificer sounds like a really cool idea. I like the idea of making things and them being at my command, and it was not fun. So I had to switch gears on that and try out something different. And that's fine too. You know, playing the different classes, finding what you like. I genuinely like playing melee classes. I like playing classes that get in there. They're the sort of the tanks. They fight fisticuffs. They take damage. They'll jump in the way of incoming attacks to protect their friends. That's the sort of thing that I like to play. So when my friend asked me to play in his campaign, I wanted to do something a little bit different because his campaign's a little bit different. So that's why I chose to go with the Druid. So I was looking at all these different things. I was like, oh, let's see what kind of thing I can pick up. Oh, okay. So Circle of the Land Druids, they get a lot of extra spells. When you start playing Dungeons and Dragons or any role-playing game, usually you're limited onto what kind of spells you can take and how many you can take. So anytime that you get extra free spells that are just added to your class and you can just choose them at random, or you can choose to use them even though normally you wouldn't be able to, you're going to want to try and take those things that are free. And this is before I even roll any of my attributes. That's a whole nother monster that we'll get into. So in doing these kind of things, oh wow, thank you for liking. Who is that? Alex, thank you very much for loving the stream. It's important to find things that you want to do and to look deeper into it, right? You're gonna get very well acquainted with the rules. It's just something that's a part of playing role-playing games. There's very few role-playing games where there aren't any rules to it. Everything has guidelines. Everything has a box that you have to fit in at the start. There's Alex liking my stream. Thank you. So when you do it, you choose something you want to try and accomplish. Like I said, I want to be a druid. heal the earth. I'm going to look through these things and I'm going to start going back and forth, back and forth. And if you have any questions on Twitch or you have any questions on Facebook, please feel free to ask. I'm going through the book right now, I'm building my character, but I can tell you the different things from the core book that you can do to achieve the characters that you want to play. I also do private lessons. If you want to contact me, if you want to private message me, I do private lessons one-on-one with people to show them how to play and build characters and paint miniatures. So if you private message me, I can help you out as well. But moving forward with the Druid that I'm building, I said, you know what? I want to be a Druid of the land, Circle of the Land, and then I'm going to take one of these special... Maybe look here. I have all these different areas, different lands that you can take. And these are the ones that give you special spells. So at 3rd level, once you hit 3rd level in any class, fighter, wizard, sorcerer, cleric, druid, any class, once you hit 3rd level, you get to specialize. And by specializing, that means that you pick a subclass. That's where we get Circle of the Land or Circle of the Moon for Druid. And there's other circles, like the Ravnica book came out with Circle of the Spores, which is sort of like a fungal Druid that deals more with fungi, plants, and stuff like that. And then there's Circle of the Swarm, which allows you to take, like, you can say hummingbirds follow you, or rats follow you, whatever sort of creatures would swarm, and then it gives you special abilities depending on what kind of swarm you pick up. Again, thanks, Alec, for talking about my miniatures. We'll be doing painting next week as we get ready for our new RPGs that we're trying out. Subclasses, getting into those things, allows you to pick the different things. Again, we're going with just the base stuff in the core player's handbook, because anybody can get their hands on the player's handbook. They keep these things very well stocked. Oh, there we go. At all your friendly local game stores. If you ask them for a Dungeons and Dragons player's handbook, they'll take you right to it. Easy peasy. I can't think of a single tabletop gaming store that wouldn't have them in stock and wouldn't know where they're at, because again, Dungeons and Dragons is one of the biggest role-playing games in the world. It's played all over the world, and so that's another fun thing too, is that if you create a character, there's usually a place that you can play wherever you go. Game stores, if you go online right now, there's hundreds of Facebook groups, thousands of Facebook groups for role-playing games. Dungeons and Dragons specifically, it'll be like, hey, yeah, we're looking for players, or I'm a DM that's looking for players for new people. If you want to join, please let me know. I myself, I'm a dungeon master storyteller for hire, so I have a few groups that pay me to run games for them, and some of them are brand new players that have never played before. And some of them are players that have been playing for such a long time that maybe they've been dungeon masters or storytellers for so long that they just want to play for a little bit. So I storytell for them, and I'm a dungeon master for them to allow them to be able to play. Because there's thousands and millions of Dungeons and Dragons players in the world, but you have to have a storyteller, a dungeon master, to actually accomplish the part of playing the game. Like, somebody has to tell the story and facilitate. All right, you enter a dungeon. As you enter, you can smell sort of a stinky stink. You can hear shambling coming from around the corner. What do you do? Like, somebody has to tell the story and get you in the mood and put that environment in place so that you can play the game. So with my druid, I'm going with Circle of the Land, and I'm probably going to end up choosing either forest or coast, because my druid comes from an island called the Isles of Albion, which is where, in my friend's story, the elves first appeared. Like, elves weren't always in his world. Elves and dwarves and other races weren't always in the world. They just sort of started appearing one day. That's how they came into the story. Well, elves started appearing on the Isle of Albion, and so the Isle of Albion has this sort of mystical mist that shrouds the island, and that's the link of how they come into the world. My wife's just making fun of me, and that's where my character is from. That's where my character is from, and he is trying to heal the world and learn how the elves came to here and why the veil is becoming so thin between our world and the world of where these other races are coming from. So that's what drives my character. He's trying to learn more about the things that we don't understand and that he's closest to. Like, he's seen elves just come out of the mist. So he's like, all right, they're not dangerous, but this is definitely weird and we need to learn more about it. So I think I might actually go with Circle of the Land and choose Coast, because he gets a bunch of free spells like Misty Step, Mirror Image, Water Breathing, Water Walk, Control Water, Freedom of Movement, Conjure Elemental, and Scrying, and those pop up as he levels up. All of those things in my mind play into my role playing. All right, at 3rd level, I get Misty Step and Mirror Image. That's me learning how to manipulate the mist and how to, all right, there's weird things going on. I can make weird things happen, like making a mirror image of myself in a different place, or using the mist to teleport. So I want to do that with my character, and I think that that's a really good idea for how I want to role play. And that's not even including all the extra stuff that my character will get from just being a druid. Like, he gets special druid spells, and he unlocks special druid abilities. Landstride, starting at 6th level, moving through non-magical difficult terrain costs you no extra movement. So if there's difficult terrain, it's exactly like it sounds it is. It's hard to move through. So maybe you're going through a swampy land, or you're trying to walk through sand. If you've ever tried to walk through sand, you know that you've really got to push through it. Well, Landstride means that I don't get bogged down by non-magical stuff. If a wizard or a sorcerer or an evil being casts mud or something to make the world rougher, that magical stuff will impede me. But regular land masses, like running through an icy field, instead of slipping all over the place, I should be able to just straight through it. It's non-magical. It's natural. I can just head straight through it. That kind of thing pops off in my head because my character isn't going to be a tank for this campaign. While my friend is running things, I'm not going to be at the front of the line. I'm going to be in the middle or towards the back, healing my friends or putting people, holding them in place. Maybe one of the things I want to utilize the most is a magical spell called Thorn Whip, where I can hit somebody from far away with a magic vine that goes through the ground and attacks them, and then it pulls them 10 feet in a different direction. If they're not a huge, massive being, they're a normal humanoid size, I can hit them and then pull them 10 feet in different directions. That might save our tank, or that might push them off of the edge of a cliff, or that might push them into a swamp pit or a lava pit. Who knows what we'll run into while we're adventuring. You never know what you'll run into while you're adventuring. So, which is another reason I love playing role-playing games, especially with my friend Danny Dean. He's a fantastic storyteller, and I can't wait to be a part of his world. And so that all starts with the idea of, what do I want to do? What do I want to accomplish with my character? I want to be a druid. Okay, as a druid, what do you want to be your main focus? Well, I want to be a healing druid. I want to be a druid of the earth. I want to save people. All right, cool. That's what we want to do. Jeremy, yeah, cool. There are barbarians in 5th edition. There are all different types of classes, and we'll go through the classes right now. Probably should have done that at the beginning so that you know what kind of things you can be. So in the 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12 different classes, right? And each of these classes is going to come with subclasses, which means that once you hit 3rd level, you can choose something to specialize in. So we'll start at the very top and we'll go with Barbarian. Barbarian is just like it sounds. It is a very hands-on, melee-focused character. They're going to be the ones running into battle, usually with giant weapons, swinging, dealing a lot of damage. Barbarians can go into a rage, which gives them extra hit points, allows them to deal extra damage, and depending on what subclass you choose, will give you different options to do while you're raging, or maybe not raging at all, but doing something else as a barbarian. The next class is one of the most controversial, and that's the Bard. And that's simply because the Bard is so versatile. The Bard, as a Bard, you can be a spell slinger. You can be a support character. You can be an attack spellcaster, right? You can be very offensive. You could be melee centric, where you're fighting with different weapons. You can be super support, where you're playing music for your friends, giving them good vibes, helping them achieve their goals, or directing them in combat to a better outcome. And so the Bard is very, very versatile and allows you to choose all different types of things to help the party. I think that the Bard is the ultimate support class. And it allows you to do a lot of different things, especially with all of the different extra books that they've come out with that allow you to delve even deeper into the subclasses to pick up extra things that you normally wouldn't be able to. One of the reasons that when I play Dungeons and Dragons, I usually just like to go with the core rulebook characters and subclasses. Like even with Danny Deans, I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons for, what is it, 5 years now? This 5th edition. 5th edition's been out for just a few years. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons since 1997. 1997. So what is that? 20. A lot of years. 23 years, 24 years, 24 years, right? Almost 25. And so I always like playing from the basic stuff, and then if something special is happening, maybe it's a one-shot, it's going on, and we get to go all out crazy, I'll pick up a different role, like different class from a different set, and be super crazy, weird, off the walls, make my Dungeon Master storyteller pull their hair out, do that kind of thing. So Barbarian, Bard, Cleric. Cleric is just like it sounds. It is a healer class. They can be kind of tanky. They can wear heavy armor, depending on what kind of deity your cleric follows. And one thing that I thought that's really interesting that they started doing recently was you can be a cleric that doesn't follow a deity, but follows an idea. Maybe they're just a cleric that loves light and wants to spread light in the world. Obviously, in Dungeons and Dragons, they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of deities, of gods, of focuses that you could choose from. But you can also say, no, I just want to heal the world. Like, I don't think that I need somebody to represent that. This is just what my character wants to do. My character wants to do good. That's it. And so they've sort of made that a thing in Dungeons and Dragons now. And it's a good and a bad thing, because sometimes you want characters to have that sense of, I need divine help, or maybe it's like the campaign that I'm currently about to play in, where there are major deities at play that are doing things in the world and are allowing things to happen. So maybe you're going to need backup from a deity of some sort. So it just depends on how things go and how you want to play out the character. But the cleric is just like it sounds. Healer. They have well, I say healer. A majority of them are going to be healers. They're going to have access to a lot of different support spells, and then clerics are going to come in all shapes and sizes. Where you could be an offensive cleric dealing damage because you follow the patron deity of fire, or the patron deity of the dark, and you just want bad things to happen. Right? And that's the part of role playing. You can do what you want to do. Next was the Druid. I talked about the Druid for a while. So they're followers of the earth. A lot of the cooler Druids are the shapeshifters that shapeshift into giant monsters, werebeasts, things like that. They use their animal forms, their wild shape. That's what it's called, wild shape, to deal the damage or to get past certain things like dexterity checks for them. The fighter. So the fighter is an interesting take because in editions past, they had the fighter and nothing else really. Like if you wanted to be a monk or you wanted to be something else, you would rely on the fighter class to pull off being a melee-centric combatant. So the fighter is basically a trained fighter. You have to think of it that way. They're like a mercenary. They're the ones that are going out and hitting the gym every day. They're training their swordsmanship. They're learning finesse. They're learning how to handle their weapons. They're honing their skills. Whereas a barbarian is brute strength, deal extra damage, gain extra hit points because they're going crazy, being feral beasts. The fighters are the ones that are like, okay, I've practiced enough to where instead of just hitting with one shot, when I fight, I can do extra attacks. I can hit at certain points. The fighter class takes their subclasses allow them to take different fighting styles and things like that. So the fighting styles will be, I can take two-handed fighting, or I could take pole arm fighting, or I can take all these different things that are legitimately fighting styles. Like they're the martial artists, the MMA fighters. They're the ones that train in all these different things to sort of hone their skills for that. Right after that is my favorite class, the monk. If I'm going to play anything long term, I usually play a monk because they're just tons of attack. They're able to not wear armor but have a high dexterity armor class so that they can avoid being hit. Even at range, they have the ability to like snatch arrows out of the air and throw them right back. And then there's different subclasses of the monk to where you can go straight wave the fist, throw extra attacks. You get like, I think the most I've done is like 6 attacks in one turn. You can go into I forget what the other one is, but it's like a spellcaster mage, spellcaster monk. So think very much Avatar, The Last Airbender, Aang, flowing wind, rushing things, or water bending, things like that. Fire uppercuts, things like that. Really, really, really cool. I love the monk class because it's a very versatile fighter class. It allows you to bring out the character and the ideas that you have and put those on paper and act them out. I want to do a flaming uppercut. All right, you're a monk. Dragon fist. Things like that. After the monk is the paladin, a knight. Exactly what it sounds like. You can be a beacon of truth. You can defend the weak. You can pulverize evildoers. And you can flip that around. You can be somebody that's trying to keep the land in order. So you do whatever you have to do to make sure that people stay in line. Maybe that's just because I'm a bad guy. Does not mean I'm a bad guy. Does the mean justify the end? The end justify the means? Something to that extent. We'll get back to it. But playing a paladin is a lot of fun. Very different. And can allow you to be that knight in shining armor. Right? You can have a shield, have a sword, have a mace, have a two-handed sword, have a two-handed mace, use a polearm, you know, so many things, and spellcast. You get spellcasting as a paladin, so you can blast people or heal yourself or heal your friends, things like that. After the paladin is the ranger. When you hear ranger, think Legolas from Lord of the Rings. Quick with the bow and arrow, very dexterous. They could also be a ranger like Aragorn, where he can track through the woods. He can step without leaving a trace. There's another type of ranger that picks up puppies. Huh? The ranger class can be like, oh, I have really good animal handling skills, so I'm gonna tame a wolf, or I'll tame a bear, and that's my buddy. And so he has this bear buddy or wolf buddy or axebeak, a chocobo as they call him, that follows you around and does different things with you and helps you perform attacks and levels up with you. So the ranger is very much a fighting class, right? They also can learn magic, so they can do some magic support. But I've always see the rangers used as pew pew. After the ranger is my wife's favorite class, the rogue. She loves playing sneaky, dexterous people. She likes fighting with blades. And really the rogue class gets put into this rogues are thieves idea. And it could be, oh no, not all rogues are thieves. Some rogues are people that can talk well and handle themselves well. Like if you look at Chris from Konosuba, an anime where the rogue is, she knows the steal technique, but she talks very well. She tells people what she's going to do and how she's going to act. And so the rogue is a very dexterity based, like the monk, fighting class, but they have all different types of things that they can do. Don't just think they're a thief. You know, they could be the character that opens the way into a evil sorcerer's castle, right? You may not just want to charge the front door. You may want to go to the side door and be like, hey, let's just go this way. Be a whole lot easier, faster, and quieter. We don't want to cause a fuss. So the rogue is a fun class. Next is the sorcerer. And actually, I'm going to lump all these together because they're exactly what they sound like. Sorcerer, warlock, and wizard. So the sorcerer is a spellcaster that is innately built with magic in them. You'll choose a magic origin. Maybe you have dragon blood in you. Maybe your family made a pact with a deity of some sort, or with the Fae, and so you have this bloodline, and there's magic in you innately. You can just cast stuff. Very simple, very easy. It's a go-to spellcasting class because of that. Very easy to use. I have this many spells. This is what I want to do. All right, I have this many spells left. I have this many spells left. I have this many spells left. All right, I'm out of spells. That's all I can do for the day. I need the rest. That's what playing a sorcerer is like. The warlock. The warlock is obviously what it sounds like. Somebody who has made a pact to gain their magic from an outside source. So they're dealing with like a demon or a deity of some sort that gives them magical use, and they have a very select set of spells that they can use. The warlock is commonly used for their Eldritch Blast spell. It's a cantrip. It's basically like, and as the warlock levels up, the spell gets stronger, 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 and then you can take feats in the game to manipulate that spell to be even more strong, or to have a longer distance, because all of these classes are going to be classes that don't generally wear heavy armor or even medium armor. They're going to be very squishy and can get hit and die very quickly. And then the last class on the list is the wizard. These were all in alphabetical order. They weren't in any sort of favorite order. So the wizard is very much what it sounds like. He is a learned magician. He's learned his magic, so his magic is finite. You start the game, you say, all right, these are the spells that my character knows. Boop, 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 boop. These are the spells that I can use. Boop, 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 boop. So you have to choose at the beginning, all right, I want to take Fireball with me, and I want to take Burning Hands, and I want to take Shocking Grasp. I want to take these spells, and these are the spells that I'm going to use throughout the day. These are the only spells that I can use throughout the day. I can't go back and forth and say, oh, I want to use 3 Fireballs for the day, or I want to use 3 Shocking Grasps for the day. I had to say, all right, I'm going to take 1 Fireball, 2 Shocking Grasps, and a Burning Hands. So they have a set amount of spells that they can use, which is cool if that's what you want to do, if that's how you want to play the character. And the wizards gain all kinds of special feats and things as they level up to make their magic more potent. So that's one of the benefits of being a wizard, is that you're constantly becoming stronger and stronger and stronger, and you can manipulate your spells as you get bigger. And the other classes can do it to an extent as well, but the wizards get exponentially more powerful as they level up. And so those are all the generic classes in the player's handbook. Oop. Again, our sponsor, Space Cadets Gaming, can definitely help you pick up some of these. If you're in the Houston area, please check out Space Cadets Gaming. They're my friendly local game store. That's where Sabrina and I go to get any of our gaming stuff, unless I'm headed home from work. And then I'll go to Etten Games and Hobbies because they're on the way. And again, both filled with great people. Space Cadets Gaming has an online presence. So if you are anywhere in the world, you can order things from their actual store and they'll ship it to you. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And so if you want a player's handbook, Space Cadets has player's handbooks. After you get the player's handbooks and you've learned a little bit more and you want to try something different, you can pick up one of their supplemental books. You know, maybe you like Magic the Gathering and you love the Ravnica setting. By all means, they have a Ravnica setting for Dungeons and Dragons right there. Boop, D&D. Maybe you want to learn a little bit more about the world and how things go. You can pick up another supplement book that tells you about a creepy horror-filled world where there are vampires and werewolves and they roam freely. Another thing too is they have supplemental books that aren't made by Wizards of the Coast. Things like Cobalt Press, Renegade Games. One of my favorites is like a short comic book called Rolled and Told, where it's a monthly adventure that comes out and it basically runs itself. So if you want to play or if you want to get the idea of how things go, you can buy this comic book and the comic book will tell you, all right, this is what's here, this is what's going on, this is how these characters would act. And I think that that's one of the best things that's happened in the past few years for role-playing games, is that there are so many different people that are putting out. Yes, Jacob, my buddy Jacob just posted on Facebook. This will be available on my Facebook, Twitch, and I have a YouTube channel. Everything that I stream goes to my YouTube. So if you missed anything today, you can catch it on my YouTube channel. Big Bad Nerd Dad. Thank you, Jacob, for asking. Thank you, Jacob, for asking. One of the best things that's happened in tabletop RPGs is the amount of stuff that's come out. Dungeons and Dragons has always been real good about producing tons and tons and tons of content, but there are things that have come out for 5e, Pathfinder, Savage Worlds, GURPS that are all like interchangeable. Like it's just an idea, an adventure, and there's no stats, there's no you have to run a paladin, a sorcerer, and this and this and this and that. Like it's not just for Dungeons and Dragons. It's just an adventure, a generic adventure with creatures and all kinds of stuff, and they'll tell you you could use this stat block from Dungeons and Dragons or this stat block from Pathfinder. Pathfinder is another role-playing game that I am going to get into. The second edition has been out for a while, and there's an Humble bundle that I'm trying to get my hands on, and I think I'm going to pick it up. We'll see, depending on what my other sponsors do. I'm sorry to hear that, Jacob. Hopefully you like what you see. And you know what, Jacob? Again, since Jacob is saying that he can't, wasn't able to watch my entire stream, private message me. Private message me here on Twitch, private message me on Facebook, or private message me on YouTube, and I can help you build a character and get the general things done. That's what I'm here for. And if you'd like, you can hire me so that I can continue doing things like this, streaming how to play, doing one-on-ones with my friends, buying more and more supplemental books so that I can help people create the characters that they want to create. That's what I'm here for. Is getting more people playing more role-playing games, whether it be Dungeons and Dragons, Tiny Dungeons, Pathfinder, Frostgrave, Call of Cthulhu. I don't care. I want you to play role-playing games because you love role-playing games. Everybody wants to play a role-playing game. You don't realize that the role-playing game that you want to play is actually out there. Fantasy, tons of it. Sci-fi, tons of it. Horror, tons of it. All kinds of role-playing games are out there. And again, this is another thing that the community has really been pushing the past few decades, is that it's not just fantasy anymore. Dungeons and Dragons is not just fantasy. You want sci-fi? We can do sci-fi. You want the one that I was showing you earlier, the Monster of the Week. You want to play Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Angel or Dean and Sam Winchester from Supernatural? We got it. But as for me, my time is up. It is 10:05. I got to go to work. Thank y'all very, very much for watching. Again, please like the stream, share it, tell your friends. And I do one-on-one sessions to build characters and help you get into the game. And if you'd like, I am a Dungeon Master / Storyteller for hire. I do have 2 campaigns that I'm currently running right now, but I am getting into virtual tabletops, which means that I can definitely make late night games possible.